Honorable sénateur, je tiens à signaler la présence de notre tribune dans la berge l'épouse du sénateur Dawson, Cindy Dawson, sa fille, Julien Dawson, son fils, Don Dawson, son frère, et Doris Dawson, sa sœur. Ils sont accompagnés d'autres membres de la famille et d'amis, parmi eux notre ancien collègue, l'honorable Jim Cowan, et son épouse Sheila Cowan, de même que Jacques Chagnon, ancien président de l'Assemblée nationale du Québec. Au nom de tous les sénateurs, je vous souhaite la bienvenue au Sénat du Canada. L'honorable sénateur Dawson.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. First of all, Speaker, I want to apologize. Last night there was a reception for my departure at the Metropolitan that everybody has mentioned. And when the Speaker was walking into the room, they said, l'invité d'honneur arrive. Please sit down. Please be quiet. And he was l'invité d'honneur up until that time. But 30 seconds later, the Prime Minister walked in. and Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry everybody forgot you, but I still noticed that you were there. So I want to apologize for it. But I think that you understand that. I could comment I think I probably will comment everybody, but I'll keep it maybe for... one of the first things I did when I came here is that Senator Lapointe, who I did not get along with very much, or not at all, had said these things should last at maximum 15 minutes. We're going for an hour, all right? And I was walking in the other place, and I ran into Senator Batters, and I said to Senator Batters, no, Senator Batters, don't be afraid. I won't use up my full 45 minutes and not give you a chance to ask questions, because you can't ask questions. So anyway, listen, I'll come back maybe if I have time at the end. But, Monsieur le Président, avec tous les louanges que je viens d'entendre à mon sujet, je vais peut-être reconsidérer ma décision de partir. Et je vais certainement conserver ces bons mots que je viens d'entendre pour les utiliser si jamais je me représentais à quel poste électif à l'avenir. Et si je conserverai aussi remémorer en vieillissant et le plus lentement possible le bon vieux temps. I got a little bit of anecdote. Was a former MLA in Quebec City that Jacques Chagnon knows very well that had decided to leave his job as an MLA and run for the city of Laval as mayor. And everybody got up in the chamber and started talking. And the people of l'Union Nationale started talking about how wonderful this guy was, Jean-Noël Lavoie. Il est un homme extraordinaire. So anyway, Jean-Noël Lavoie was defeated as mayor of Laval. So then he ran to succeed himself in his own seat, and his publicity was based on what the nice Union Nationale people had said about him. But don't be afraid. Senator Blake, don't be afraid. I'm not coming back as an MP. If I wanted to stay, I'd have stayed here. It was a lot easier, and you don't have to do door-to-door napping. So this is the last time I rise in this chamber. After flipping through and listening to a number of farewell speeches from my departing colleagues over the past years, I have drawn the conclusion that the fewer years spent in the Senate, the longer the farewell speech. And the longer the term has been, the shorter the farewell speech was. So normally I should sit down right away after 25 years, but I will not believe it that easy for you. But nevertheless, and I want to quote our former colleague, Senator Baker, who his wife died last week, and he was my first seatmate when I walked into the House of Commons 45 years ago. He was sitting beside me, and he was always practically as colorful as Senator Manning, but certainly more interesting. So I offer Senator Baker my sympathy for the passing of his wife, but as we've heard him say, some of us have heard so often, I will be brief. George's speakers were always a treat to listen to, for his gift as a speaker, his wit, his clever humor were unparalleled. He was a great inspiration. Today is my turn to be brief, and I will be, trust me. Comme Jean-Pierre Ferland, ce grand auteur-compositeur québécois, a déjà chanté, « Anne, il est temps de faire du feu dans la cheminée, je reviens chez nous. » Je reviens à Québec après 45 ans que j'ai partagé montant à peu près également entre la Ville de Québec et la Ville d'Ottawa. Après 2 années d'horaire hybride, sans obligation de voyager à Ottawa, j'ai décidé que pour moi, c'était le temps de retourner chez moi. Le retour à temps plein obligatoire à Ottawa n'aura que forcé ma main. En plus, Air Canada a annulé les vols directs pour Ottawa. Everything was blowing in the right way for me to retire. C11, I'll go back to my speech because I'm going to be funny. Over all those years in Ottawa, I through many ventures across Canada, made lots of friends and acquaintances that have become dear to me. And many of those have become very good friends here in Ottawa. But I'm going back home. I'm going back home to Quebec City. Je me suis fait beaucoup d'amis et peu d'ennemis, je crois. En fin de compte, à ma connaissance. À Ottawa et dans le reste du pays, au cours des années, j'ai eu l'occasion de rencontrer de nombreuses personnes. Mais j'ai choisi de prioriser Québec, moi chez moi, ma ville de naissance, là où je retrouve ma famille et mes amis de toujours. Mais je ne peux pas m'en aller sans dire un merci bien senti à tous ceux et celles qui, de près ou de loin, ont été importants pour moi durant mes années, au Sénat en particulier. En partant, cela fait un nombre impressionnant d'adjoints et d'adjointes, certains qui sont dans la salle ici, plusieurs qui étaient à mon événement hier soir, dont plusieurs à graduer à d'autres postes en politique ou d'autres domaines dans la vie. Since Senator Gold talked about one of my former assistants, we're not supposed to name people that are in the tribute, so I won't name her, but Kate is up there anyway. Kate did something this morning that I really appreciated. She posted the first speech I made in the House of Commons 40-odd years ago. The problem is that you'll all see that I haven't improved much since then, you know. So people can go back and listen to it and say, my God, he hasn't improved at all. I've had other staffers that are here, Arlene, Daphne, Stephen, and finally Jeremy, who have always managed to make me look good. And that's what we need in staffers. You know, that's their first mandate. Make us comfortable, obviously, but make us look good. Merci du fond du cœur à toutes et à tous pour m'avoir enduré à travers tous les péripéties de la vie parlementaire du Sénat. Je dois aussi un grand merci à certains de mes collègues du Sénat. J'ai passé de très heureuses années ici depuis ma nomination en 2005. Je n'ai pas noué des relations profondes avec tous mes collègues, mais j'ai appris à connaître plusieurs d'entre vous et eu l'occasion de vous apprécier. I have worked closely with many of you over the years, and I found in most of you, if not all of you, a genuine drive to serve our compatriots with dedication and contribute to making our country one of the best in the world. It's not broken. Might need a little fixing and a little love, but trust me, it's not broken. Plusieurs d'entre vous, that's about as partisan as I'll be. Plusieurs d'entre vous, de tous les horizons politiques représentés en cette Chambre, sont d'ailleurs devenus des amis. Mohamed, I share that moment preciously. It was an opportunity for me to try to shed. I didn't succeed in convincing you to join our caucus, but as Michelle Odette learned, even if you've been there for a few days, and I'm saying that in front of everyone, even if you've been in the other caucus, you're always welcome in the Progressive Caucus. Je me considère très chaleureux d'avoir pu siéger avec des hommes et des femmes de grande qualité qui apportent une contribution importante à la vie publique et à l'avancement des choses dans leur province, dans leur territoire et au plan fédéral. Il y a aussi des années moins heureuses depuis ma nomination, qui n'ont cependant rien à voir avec mes collègues sénateurs. Des événements moins heureux qui m'ont beaucoup marqué. Le principal, effectivement, fut notre expulsion du caucus libéral en février 2014, l'anniversaire qui arrive très bientôt d'ailleurs. J'ai fini par accepter cette décision, mais je n'étais pas d'accord avec cette approche et n'ai pas changé d'idée. I had the opportunity last night to have the Prime Minister come to my farewell party, and I might have mentioned to him that I, even many years later, did not really appreciate getting thrown out of my political party. But I did announce to him that I was going to the Liberal Convention in the month of May as a liberated senator that is allowed to have partisan opinions. La liste de toutes les personnes que j'aimerais remercier est très longue sur mes 45 ans. Elle pourrait être même très, très longue. J'ai entrepris une vie publique, bien entendu, comme ça a été mentionné, à 22 ans comme commissaire d'école, ensuite comme président de la commission scolaire. Mais je me permets quand même de souligner surtout les dernières années ici. La première personne que je dois remercier, bien évidemment, c'est Paul Martin, bien le très honorable Paul Martin, un ami, un mentor et un guide, qui d'ailleurs s'est adressé aux gens à mon événement hier soir, qui a eu l'excellente idée de me nommer au Sénat en 2005. Ce fut évidemment l'une de ses bonnes décisions, et je serai éternellement reconnaissant. I owe him to having had the privilege of sitting in this House and thanking for having given me this opportunity to serve my fellow citizens. I wish and I hope I met his expectations and made him proud of the confidence he put in me when he appointed me to the upper chamber. Par cette nomination, il me donnait l'occasion de contribuer à niveau à la vie publique au Canada et au Québec. Il me permettait aussi de continuer à servir mes concitoyens, cette fois à cette auguste institution qui est le Sénat canadien. Cela dit, pour moi, Paul Martin a toujours représenté et représente toujours cette qualité d'individu dont on a besoin en politique, parce que leur seul objectif qui les guide, c'est de servir le public et d'améliorer le sort de leurs concitoyens au plan économique et social. Cela dit, j'ai pris mon rôle au sérieux et je me considère comme un sénateur qui a vraiment essayé de contribuer à la vie parlementaire. Je suis fier de ma participation au débat en tant que législateur. Je me suis fait un point d'honneur d'assurer l'interaction productive avec mes collègues sénateurs et sénatrices, dans le processus qui nous permet d'apporter des sober second thoughts au projet de loi et de différentes initiatives qui se retrouveront pour les études et la considération devant le Sénat. Je tiens à souligner en particulier l'amitié et le support qui m'ont apporté les ex-sénateurs Serge Royal, qui fut mon mentor lors de ma nomination ici, et Francis Fox, un ami fidèle de longue date, qui a été nommé en même temps que moi. Ces deux hommes, et Jim, I know you're here somewhere, my friend Jim, having spent 14 years as my leader, I might have been a little bit of a pain for him sometimes because I've been known to have independent opinions. But it was a pleasure serving with you. It was a pleasure serving with Serge, but a pleasure serving with all of my colleagues. Somebody mentioned earlier in one of the speeches that I was one of the last. It's true. I came in with I started politics with Trudeau the first. I'm finishing politics with Trudeau the second, or as we say in French, deux Trudeau à l'autre. I have to admit that I'm also the only person in Parliament that is still here until the next few hours, at having served with both of them. When I leave, he's going to have to find somebody else to complain about. But I have to tell you that because I'm also the only person in the House of Commons or in the Senate that in French that I say j'ai voté pour la Charte des droits. And as I say in English, I voted for patriation. I just hope that people don't do the translation to understand that one is liked and one is less liked, whether he's speaking to Rock or speaking to Quebec. But that's my political instinct. J'aime plusieurs collègues actuels ou présents mériteraient de recevoir, mais I can't speak of everybody I will go over the list of people that made comments. I did joke about Senator Batters not wanting to speak for 45 minutes. Jane, one of my great accomplishments, and I did an interview with the Senate Communications Service, was the creation of Progressive Caucus. Obviously, we were looking for ourselves, and I think that we and Terry succeeded in making a successful group. And I encourage people to understand that having more caucuses in this place will make this place a better place. So I'm asking you to understand that, and I think we should work on that. Mark, yes, I have had wonderful staff, but I have to say that you've been well served. A lot of people in your office, including your deputy chair, a deputy leader makes you look good, so we have to take that. Senator Platt, yes, we did some shopping in Brussels, I think. I was buying bow ties and he was buying ties. But that was probably the only occasion we had fun, because a lot of times we were more in conflict than anything else. CBC, very good example of where there was no reconciliation possible. The reality is that he wanted it to disappear, I wanted it to stay. And you know what? It's still there. Senator Platt, it's going to stay there. Like Raymond said, we've known each other. Her husband did law with my wife, and we've known each other for many, many years. And we have, even though we're in different caucuses, we've cooperated often in the past, and I really appreciate her comments. My son played in kindergarten with her son, so it's been a long, long tradition. My son, the one with the beard and the long hair, where did he get that? I don't know. and Senator Platt and Senator Leo, he makes his own bow ties too. And Senator Manning, you were late because I did a demonstration on how to make a bow tie earlier, but I won't do it again because I don't want to push my luck. Senator Klein, C11. You know, I have this new colleague that's sitting with me on the committee, and we pride ourselves of having very independent opinions, and we didn't always get along, but I knew that in the end I could always count on his support. Leo, I was comfortable knowing that you were going to speak because I ran into your wife who's on the Hill, and she told me, Dennis, don't be afraid, he's only going to be saying nice things about you. So that means I don't get to do any snide remarks about you because you were too nice to me. Eric, c'est mon ami, c'est maintenant mon voisin à Québec. Il habite à 5 minutes de chez moi et je peux peut-être avoir plus de chance de le voir à Québec que j'ai eu de chance de le voir ici à Ottawa. Amina and Michel, somebody's going to have to tell me what a mouchou is because I don't know. Well, moucha, I'll ask Michel to describe it to me. I hope it's a compliment. Julie, t'es une fierté pour moi. Je sais que je t'ai parrainé. Et je pense que tu es une excellente parlementaire et je suis très fier d'avoir aidé à ta carrière. Patricia, you were my cultural instructor. Patricia, we're on the Foreign Affairs Committee doing a study on culture. She was my advisor on a subject that I should have known more about, but I learned a lot through Patricia. Mohammed, yes, ran into you in the street, and you looked lost. I don't know if it was because you were from Labrador, Newfoundland, and that you were looking for what. But I really felt that I could be a little bit of an inspiration. And yes, when we went to the International Parliamentary Union, I did try to introduce you to that world, and it's a wonderful world. Raymond also came with us at some of these conferences. And oui, ça paraît pas, mon cher René, mais je défendais la cause des LGBTI à des conférences internationales. Je suis allé à Djibouti, le ministère des Affaires extérieures m'ont dit, parle pas de ça. Don't talk about it. I said, a right is a right is a right. And I'm going to say it in Djibouti, where it's prohibited for being an homosexual. Then a year later, I went with Raymond and Mohammed to an IPU conference in Qatar, and it's illegal to be an homosexual in Qatar. And I made my speech, and I said, a right is a right is a right, and they have to. So I've always done it in my way, and I've always been proud of having done that. I lost my point in the speech again. I'll just take the opportunity, because when you leave, Pierrette and I have something in common, because Pierrette is one, and I think there's José. There are a few people here that sat in both houses. When you leave the other place, they don't get you, and you're defeated, they don't give you a chance to say thank you for having served, because you don't have that opportunity. Since I have an opportunity today to thank the people of Louis-Hébert for having elected me in 77, re-elected me in 79, elected me in 80, I want to thank them for having had confidence in me. 84, well, I got to admit that they made a decision I have to live with it. And yes, it's such a small world that the person that defeated me was Suzanne Duplessis, and later she came out, and she arrived here in the Senate, and she was still in front of me as an opposition senator. I did jump over. I had a long speech. I'm looking at Paul Massica, Senator Green. I had a long speech about the reform of this place, all right, because I do believe that this needs to be reformed. There are a lot of improvements that have to be done, but I think that it's not a time to I won't do it. I'm going to probably publish in the Hill Times what I think should be done to improve things, including the fact that there's not only a half a kilometer between the House and the Senate. We are now miles away one from the other. We don't contact. We don't share information. We don't have relationships. We don't have. I gave the example. I have often given the example that you go to the PMO, René, they have a desk for the LGBTI at the PMO. They have a desk for Western development, economic development, foreign affairs, American, Canada, US, but they don't have a desk for the Senate. So nobody at the PMO, nobody at PCO is really the person to go to when you have a senator issue. And I think that could be an improvement. He said, you're an independent Senate, but I still named the Speaker. I still named the leader of the government, obviously, and he's going to be naming the next clerk. Well, if we're independent, I would hope that we could have that power. But again, I'm not going to do all of those things because I said I'd try to shorten my speech. So I'll take those pages away. This is the part where I take out the box of Kleenex, or I got one here, where yes, I have spent Anne and I have been together for 40 years, in political life, that's only 20 because I was gone half the time. and she endured those days. Cindy, my daughter, who lives here in Ottawa, has been my constant dinner companion, and I'm going to miss, because I'm going back home, but I'm going to miss having these dinners with my daughter. That's the Kleenex. I'm just taking it in case. Je leur ai dit que je les aime et que j'ai hâte de passer plus de temps avec eux, notamment, comme ça a été bien dit à plusieurs reprises, avec ma petite fille qui s'est ajoutée à notre clan il y a quelques semaines. Avant de quitter la scène du Sénat, on me permettra de partager avec vous quelques réflexions sur l'institution. That's the part I'm going to be jumping over because I was going to give you advice. Just the Massacre Green report, Senator Belmar's efforts at the Rules Committee, all of these things, it's nice to talk about them, but we have to act on them because this place does need. I did criticize the fact that we were thrown out of caucus in 2014. I told the Prime Minister, he actually mentioned it to him last night in a very impolite way, a polite way, but not respectful of the fact that he's the Prime Minister and I'm close to be a former senator. But I did feel that I understand why it was done, but the follow-up and the follow-through and how I remember when I arrived, when the new independent senators we had 6 independent senators and 3 government representatives. Now we have 55 independendent senators and we still have 3 representatives. The work they have to do to handle all of these committees and all of these members just means that the Prime Minister has not, the PMO and the government have not understood that they also have to adapt to the fact that quand on met quelqu'un au monde, there's a song in that, but I won't sing it. Quand on met quelqu'un au monde, on doit maintenant les écouter. When you give somebody birth, which is the independent Senate, you got to listen to what the Senate is saying. And the senators are saying, you've got to modernize the rules. You've got to help us make this a better place. It means it took 6 years for the Parliamentary Act to be changed. And I'm very happy for you, but the only thing it meant is that you're getting money. Because for the rest, the rules were not changed. It just means that they're respecting the fact that if you're having a mandate, that mandate should be recognized. But apart from that, there are a lot of modernization that has to be done. But if you want to go to the PMO and ask them who to do it, there's nobody in that office that is mandated to deal with the Senate. And I think that's the wrong thing. So anyway, a lot of things about the reform that I'd like to get into. I'll just jump over those pages because... And I could talk about the appointment process. I think Paul Martin had a very good one. I certainly can't contest his judgment. Julie, it's true. I had decided when I was thrown out of caucus in 2014. I did really feel that I should leave. I had a liberal career, and I still do believe in partisan politics. And I didn't leave because after that, we created the progressive group. I was named SIBA. When I'm looking at the clerks, I'm looking at the speaker, I'm looking at all the people that work in the Senate. For the few years that I've been working on SIBA, I've learned to admire the work they do. And it's been very challenging and very interesting experience for me. And that's one of the things I will look. The LTVP committee, the JIC, I will miss those things. A lot of things I won't miss, but those things I will miss. And I want to thank the people that supported us. I'm looking at Gerard, that I've known for a long time, and I'm saying, I will miss these people. I'm going to miss you too, but I will miss these people that are in front of us. So the only thing that was left was the timing of my departure. And a lot of things happened. I joked about the fact that there were no more. I had to come back here all the time because they have hybrid in the other place, which I don't understand why they can be hybrid and we can't, or I don't even understand why they are hybrid. I was there for many years. I was always proud to sit in the House of Commons. I'd rather sit in the House of Commons than be on a Zoom committee. But they took their decisions. Ce n'est pas le moment de m'y attarder trop longtemps, mais je sais que toutes les années au Parlement canadien, j'ai eu la profonde conviction qu'en ce qui me concerne, j'ai toujours servi les intérêts de notre pays, de nos concitoyens. I am proud of my years as a senator. Those have been wonderful years in spite of a few bad curves. I wish the best of luck to those of you who will continue to be part of this institution. But it is time to go home to my wife, to my family, and yes, again, I repeat, to my daughter. I'm quite proud. I like to be anything but bragging. I'm not. But I am humbled in the fact that what I heard here today, I think I've tried to live up to the fact that Paul Martin named me, and my problem now is to try to live up to everything that was said. Je veux remercier encore une fois ceux et celles qui m'ont donné la possibilité de participer activement, en toute modestie, mais avec beaucoup de conviction et de détermination à contribuer à faire du Canada l'un des meilleurs pays au monde, qui reste encore évidemment le meilleur pays au monde. Thank you, and I will be back every once in a while, but as a tourist.